You were saying before, lenders not understanding the soft brand still. I mean, it's pretty. Well, I guess because we work in the industry, everyone knows about it. But there's still kind of. What's the misunderstanding though? Because I see a soft brand as it is a soft brand, but it's just like a brand like any other. Because getting the support of that global reservation system, the marketing behind it. So I mean, what is the kind of maybe the holdup that lenders don't understand?
One quick response from me: some lenders are prohibited from doing non-flags. Just that's it.
Just prohibited.
Yeah, I mean, I financed a long time ago.
That's interesting.
Sagamore Hotel, Lake George.
Oh, I've stayed there.
Yeah, when it was closed.
Which is a phenomenal example of an independent.
Yeah.
Is that independent?
I believe it's independent.
I mean, there's nothing else out there though. It's like all motels and.
In the beginning, when it was first developed, and then it actually had a problem and was sold.
Yeah.
But that's a great story. But it was overfinanced in the beginning.
I can't speak directly with the context that he has in the finance world, but just from a brand company that's launched and grown new brands and all the brand companies, until a brand gets out there, until the sponsors that these lenders are comfortable with start pushing it, saying, if you want to do business with me, these are the brands I'm going to be building now, and them getting comfortable with those sponsors and then seeing some success and having, there's a lot of people involved that end up allowing a hotel to be successful on the finance side. It's the feasibility consultant who's getting comfortable in writing a positive study. It's the appraiser. It's the lender. It's everyone kind of in the development community who is on that side of things, getting comfortable with it, and it takes time. When a new brand is launched or a new concept is launched, my opinion is that lenders are in the business of underwriting the worst case downside risk, and until they can get really comfortable, they don't see as much downside risk. That's when,
It's kind of like insurance. If you're underwriting a 20-year-old that has never gotten a cold, it's easier to get the insurance, right? If you're a 60-year-old and had cancer, it's a little harder to get it. So, because your record is a little bit different, but it's all a matter of record, and experience. So it's you get a great brand that's always been successful. It's easy because the insurance is there.
Yeah. But I just think it's interesting nowadays. I look at it, but you're talking about they just won't do flags, but almost a soft brand is kind of a flag, right? I mean, maybe not to the and we can get into that later about the customer experience, but it certainly is kind of it's part of the portfolio of brands.
Well, it is, but I mean, Jerry brings up a good point about insurance, and to me, I would think if I was going to bring Bruce a deal to underwrite it, just a true independent hotel, no brand affiliation or connectivity to the reservation or distribution system. And he brought that to market. Or I said, hey, Bruce, I'm going to affiliate this with Essential Action, which has this very powerful reservation system. You would think a lender would see that and be like, well, there's a little bit of insurance. It's connected to this massive reservation system. And we like the deal as an independent. This really should only help. And sometimes it's a head scratcher when they look at it and say, well, we don't like it because it's affiliated with that particular brand company because we had a bad experience with that company or whatever is driving their decision. Or you'll see hotels get financed as an independent, or they won't as a brand. It's like he said. I think it's very specific on that day, the mood in the room or what's happening. I'm sure.
Markets are important. New York is a very special market, and as you know, there are many boutique hotels here.
And independent.
I've financed quite a few of them, and on the mainland, New York City. You can get a pretty good reception. But you have the same hotel, the same projections, what have you, in an off-market, not a true location that's been tried, you'll have problems.
Yeah.
We've, we typically, our job kind of ends once we get people around this table comfortable with the design and a program and a look and an aesthetic. We're now forcing to go to that next level. We want you to come in and meet with our investor board, because they want to hear it directly from you, because we need to tell the story, we need to hear the story. We sit in those rooms and we hear things like, well, how many of these types of hotels have traded? When was the last time it traded? What's the history of when these things go to sale? What can you repurpose this as, because the room is so small? So there's the insurance and the risk is, they're looking, it may make sense now, but what's the exit? And those are the harder questions to answer when you go, well, this is brand new.
Well, I was going to ask you that we were talking about, everyone's talking about how a soft brand or an independent hotel having a great story behind it. But now, like we were talking about before, they're seeing more new construction of hotels that are built and then they affiliate right off the bat. So there isn't that kind of historical, there isn't that backstory to it. So I guess that can make it more of a difficulty from the obviously from the lender perspective. But it also, I'd like to get a sense from you just from about designing a soft branded independent hotel versus a branded hotel. What is what's the nuance there?
I mean, it's a complete opposite end of the spectrum. If we're given a relatively prototypical Cambria, we kind of know the specs and the menu, and it may want to be customized because it's in Boston or Manhattan or somewhere else. But there's a level of tweaking to that you can kind of get your head around. When you start from zero, it's a lot more fun. It's a lot more work. It's a lot of effort. You're kind of trying to, again, with that branding company, hand in hand, you're writing the story, you're crafting the story. Schedule is something that's always a little crazy because there may be 3 or 4 months where you're just evolving the statement of the story, and at the end of that, there's a lot of money spent. You have a 2-page piece of paper that says, "Here's what we're building." Yeah. But there's, it's so different. It takes the years of market data and research that the brands put into this to come up with an Ascend collection. Says, "Here's our criterion, here's our standard," and says, "Okay, for every time you do this independent hotel, you have to now do this and do it in a short period of time, quicker and better and faster." So it's again, from my standpoint, I love it, but it's a lot. It's just a lot different.
Yeah. Can I ask you, Mark, what's the difference between developing a Cambria versus developing an independent hotel that's going to be part of Ascend? In terms of just the kind of, I mean, there's a lot to it, but kind of what are the real kind of touch points?
It's like New York or San Francisco, or the top 25 markets, but there's much more of a template that the developers and the architects and everyone designing has to follow, because it has to look and feel and be a Cambria when our guests walk in. On the Ascend side, again, we talked about soft brands and independent hotels really being able to unlock potential in real estate that otherwise wouldn't, be able to really be anything. And you can go into, in certain times of the cycle, we've come into New York City with Ascend on rooms. One of the first Ascends we had in the city had four rooms per floor, and one of the rooms was 185 square feet. But we designed it in a way...
It's like my apartment.
That was very functional. A lot of people in New York City, they come in and they put their bag on their bed and they're out experiencing all that New York has to offer. But it was a very clean, comfortable, workable room, and it was sold at a little bit different price point, and it just worked. But we would never accept a room like that for Cambria.
For Cambria,
right?
Sure.
So
I get it.
there's just some differences on the design side.
Yeah.